Hello everyone, welcome to my channel, or welcome back if you've been here before. My name is Bethanne. Today I am doing the Booktube Backstage tag that I've been really enjoying watching a lot of people's versions of this tag. I was tagged by Bruninga-Socolar, so I will link her channel down below, and I'll put a link to her specific tag video up here in the cards if you want to go check hers out. It was really well done. Some of my answers will be kind of boring because I don't really do much backstage. This is my production. But let's just dive right in. So the first question is, what camera do you use for your videos? And I should say, as usual, when I do tag videos, the list of questions is down in the description box. And I also have timestamps down there. So if there's some question that you like seeing people's answers to, but it's the only thing you care about, you can just go down there and click the timestamp. You don't have to listen to me babble on. So the first question, what camera do you use for your videos? So I mostly use just the built-in camera in my Lenovo ThinkPad laptop. That's why the quality is not good. I occasionally use the built-in camera in my phone, my LG phone. Can you see how cracked the screen is, perhaps? Yeah, this phone is very beat up. So no fancy camera equipment here. I would like to use better camera equipment. We've had a couple of DSLRs. We still have a couple of DSLRs, but unfortunately we've traveled with them a lot and used them for work. And for me, work for a long time was in a semi-arid, so partial desert area, and my camera, even though I took pretty good care of it and tried to keep it protected, it got kind of full of sand. So our two DSLRs don't really work anymore. But my plan, once we no longer have to pay for my daughter's daycare because she enters the public school system, which will be in a year or two, once we have those daycare bills off of our financial backs, we would really like to either rehab our existing cameras or buy a new one, and partly to use for photography outdoors, but I would also use that for my booktube videos. So fingers crossed that we can do that in the near future. Question number 2, speaking about filming and being your own director, do you have a favorite film director? So I do not. I enjoy movies, but I don't make time for them. It feels like a long time commitment for me, and I'd usually rather be reading. So I mostly only watch movies if someone else is like excited to watch a movie, or if there's a particular movie that I've been looking forward to. So I usually do it in social situations. And even with books, I have a terrible time remembering things like authors' names. So I am way worse at that with movies, which I care about less than books. So I do not really pay attention to directors' names, unfortunately. I wish I paid more attention because it's a creative output and effort, and everyone should be credited appropriately, but I don't have the brain space. Number 3, what microphone do you use and what program do you use to edit your videos? So I just use the built-in microphones in my laptop and in my phone when I film in my phone. It seems to be working pretty well. Of course, when I start filming with a camera, eventually a DSLR, I will then get an external mic, and I might get one, just one of the cheap ones, just to improve my sound quality a little bit at some point in this booktube journey. I'm definitely open to that. And then for programming, for editing my videos, so if it's just a very simple video, like something like a tag video like this, I usually just use the built-in Windows video editor that just came with my laptop. But I've started using Lightworks, and I'm starting to get more proficient in that for anything where I need to like add in the picture of a book that I read on Kindle or listened to in audio, or like splice things together or anything like that. So I'm starting to learn how to use Lightworks, which has been going pretty well. But for this video, for example, I think I'll just use the Windows video editor. Okay, question 4. Do you remember the first record that you bought or received as a gift? I do. I think it was for my 10th birthday, and it was so exciting because my parents got me my very own little boombox so that I could listen to music in my own room while I was getting dressed in the morning. This was a big deal of like being independent. And the CD they got me to go with the boombox was Celine Dion. It was her, I think it was called All the Way. It was like her decade in song. So I think it was kind of her best hits from the 90s, because this would have been in 1998, I guess. Would have been my 1999. I was born in 1988, and I always get really confused because your first year of life, you know, it's like the day you're born is your 0th birthday. So I guess 1999 would have been my 10th birthday. Anyway, I got that song. It was very exciting because it had the Titanic song from the movie Titanic on it. Yeah, I still could probably sing every song from that CD, but really nobody wants to hear that. All right, question number 5. How do you prepare your videos? Talking points, a detailed script, or just talking? So I do, well, obviously you're hearing me say and a million times, so I clearly don't have a script. I will often just make a few just little bullet points of things I want to make sure I mention, especially if I'm doing a review of a single book and don't want to forget things. And I think there's been once or twice with a book that was about, topics that could be sensitive or topics where I'm really trying to work on my language. So some books about race, for example, in 2020, where I did have kind of like a script that I like wrote up, but then I didn't really read from it verbatim. But just that process for me of kind of writing something out to make sure I get the language right, and then I generally can like kind of casually follow it when I then just try to repeat what I wrote, kind of paraphrase it almost. But sometimes I will kind of do that sort of like practicing. I think I've only done that for 2 videos maybe. And certainly in 2021, I'm going to try to read many more books that are about race and gender and things where I'm certainly not an expert, but want to make sure that I am using the right language. And it's worth the extra effort to make sure I don't mess up too much, and it's not like an embarrassment thing of like, oh my gosh, I messed up, but it's just like, that's how you improve, is by practicing. So occasionally I will kind of do that sort of like very informal scripting, if that makes sense. And then question number 6, TV shows have become the thing of our time. What is or are your favorite TV shows ever? Name a maximum of 3. So I was a little surprised. I actually came up with favorite TV shows when I sat down and thought about this just for like a second when I read through the questions. So Grey's Anatomy is definitely a big one, because there's just something about the storytelling where like that's the only show basically that I can watch multiple times without being bored. I mean, not like back to back, but I have watched the first couple of seasons, I want to say like 3 or 4 times. It's just pretty good storytelling. Doesn't have to be medically accurate or anything, just the characters are fun. So that's definitely one that I would say is my favorite. Again, not for the quality, not for the accuracy, but it's just very enjoyable to watch. Derek Shepherd is a dreamboat. I think that's probably a big part of it, but it's easy to watch. But then ones that I actually think are really high quality and I think not enough people watch. So one is Miranda, which is a British sitcom from, I want to say 2009. So it is like 10 years old now. It's available on Amazon Prime. But it's the show that inspired the new show that just started in the US called Call Me Kat, which is on Fox or Hulu. And it's just hilarious. It's a woman who's, I think in her mid-30s. Her mom is obsessed with her getting married and like being normal kind of, but she's just like quirky. In the original British series, she owns a joke shop and has a hilarious coworker who's her best friend. And so a lot of the focus of the show is just on the fun that they have together. And then her, I think, college crush like comes back to town and is a chef in a bar like just down the street from the joke shop. And so then the whole thrust of the series is like Miranda is kind of this socially awkward goofball who kind of wants to get with him, and he's incredibly hot. And it's like a will they won't they kind of thing, and just lots of shenanigans happen. There's lots of fantastic side characters. It's just very well done and is just hilarious. So I love that show. And then another one that's also, this one's even older, but not that old, is the British series As Time Goes By, which my parents really love. And we didn't watch TV like at all growing up, but I think when I was in college, they started watching TV more. And As Time Goes By was on like the public broadcast channel. And we would just watch it. And it's so sweet. And it's Judi Dench, and she's perfect in everything she's in. And it's just a family-based show. that yeah, it's just sweet and often funny in a very British way, and I just really like it. So those are my TV shows. Okay, question number 7. What kind of booktube videos do you prefer to watch and why? Reviews, wrap-ups, vlogs, book hauls, tag videos, etc. So I watch pretty much all kinds of booktube videos. There's some things where like I really need to be in the mood for it. So like vlog videos, I would say I watch less frequently, just because, yeah, there's something, you know, I guess I'm a mood booktube consumer. Because I do, yeah, I don't always watch vlogs, I would say. I think my favorite things to watch are TBRs and wrap-ups because I'm just nosy and like to know how people are spending their time. Same thing with tag videos. It's that nosiness. I'm just like, ooh, tell me more about yourself. And then, yeah, and I do really like reviews of single books. All the booktube people that I'm subscribed to are people who maybe not entirely, but they at least sometimes read books that I am really, really interested in. And a lot of the people that I subscribe to, like every book they read, I'm really interested in. And so it's just a way to become more familiar with what's out there. And I am lucky in that some parts of my job are kind of amenable to just having a booktube video on in the background. This is another reason why I say I don't watch vlogs as much, is because I'm often just listening to a booktube video while I'm doing something pretty mindless for work, like handling bee specimens or cleaning a data file or doing some simple coding to prepare for a big analysis or something. Like there's just a lot of that stuff where like a good chunk of my brain does not need to be engaged. So yeah, so I often just listen to things, and booktube is really great for that. Okay, and then question number 8. Watching TV was probably a part of all of our childhoods. These years it has become less popular. What kind of media user are you? I was not really allowed to watch TV as a child. Once we got into late elementary school, like 7 or 8 maybe, we were allowed to watch like 1 or 2 hours of TV just on Saturday mornings to let my parents sleep in a little bit. And then we basically didn't watch TV in like middle school and high school. Like it was just not what we were allowed to do in my family, like come home after school and turn on the TV, like just didn't happen. Occasionally we'd watch movies on the weekends, but no TV. So as an adult, I'm kind of like, I can watch TV whenever I want and as much as I want, and I can eat ice cream while I do it, and nobody can tell me no. So sometimes I binge things just because I can. But anyway, what kind of media user are you? So yeah, so I do watch TV. I watch booktube and I listen and read books. Occasionally I'll get into a podcast a little bit, but I don't really do podcasts because I'd rather read a book, or if I'm gonna listen to something, I'd rather listen to an audiobook. So another part of my job is I often spend many hours in the car driving to places where I'm going to collect data. And yeah, and I'll listen to audiobooks rather than podcasts. So that's just the sort of person I am. But yeah, we don't have a TV in our house. We don't even have a radio because we do everything on our computers. So yeah, everything is through the computer or my phone. So that is it for the questions for the Booktube Backstage tag. So let me know if you have any follow-up questions or what your answers are to some of these. And yeah, thanks for watching, and I hope to see you all in the next video. Thanks. Bye.